here. And then go to the Flump channel and tell me if that's how you want it. I don't know.
You think I'm subscribed to Flump? Are you kidding me?
I don't know, man. You tell me.
Flump, YouTube. Why am I... I'm going to have to be typing things, so I need to actually move my microphone all the way back here.
Your microphone.
Yeah, my microphone.
Yeah.
Flump, comma, salute.
Why was there a B? Listen, we haven't done this in a while.
That was Brick Roads, Brickmont spelling bee.
Okay.
And if you don't get that, I can't help you.
All right, I'm just gonna let it go. Let that one go. We're just gonna.
This is a problem. Like, expect to get. I'm gonna tag the beginning of this and just like, Raz, you need to watch the first 1 minute of this stream so that you can yell at Flump on Sunday. My man needs to learn him some Guymont spelling bee. All right.
So is this how you want the stream to appear, with this giant? Because I popped that onto Discord, and I've got like your main window, and then there's just a giant black margin all around the outside of it.
I don't know why there's a giant black margin all the way around the outside of it, because that's not
cool.
Can you click into that view? Because again, my screen.
I guess I can. Oh no, the problem was me the whole time.
Yeah, there you go. Here you go, bud.
As with many things in life, it turns out...
Oh, was I getting yelled at unfairly for once in my goddamn life?
No, you deserved it. We just don't know for what yet.
Damn it. You're probably not wrong.
All right, so what did you want to show me? What did you want to pull up?
Oh, okay, yeah. So like, I have no idea what our topic for this evening could possibly be. This was last week's or last week's. We were looking at the lineage of Rickard Stark at some point.
Okay.
For A Song and Games of Winter and Thrones of Ice and Dragon Session 3.
Right.
You can see the whole of my back. There we go. So I tried to draw Game of Thrones based off of the one reference image I had.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the Iron Throne.
Yep. For reference, this is what I can draw the Canadian flag. That good. That's as good as that gets for drawing. So this is maximum effort.
As a child, I would always envy kids who lived in countries that had like a drawable flag. Because I imagine like kids draw the Canadian flag all the time, right? You just put the stripes and then you draw like the little leaf. And maybe the leaf is like a little messed up in the middle. Like, how many prongs does a leaf have? I don't know. But just a big red leaf in the middle. That's cool, right? But now imagine...
The best thing about the Canadian leaf, three parts to the leaf. Each leaf part has 3 prongs. 3 by 3.
But now imagine you're a kid growing up in America like me, 6 years old. You got to draw a flag with 50 fucking tiny little stars. No, nobody did that. You drew the flag, you got the stripes, you put a field, you just kind of put like a squiggle up there, be like, yeah, there's stars, whatever. Or you draw like 6 stars, right? There's like a few stars. Nobody's drawing all 50 stars.
We could be here all day discussing like how you cut down on the number of states, because you guys don't need 50.
No, I agree. Like, Dakota, you're not fooling anybody. All right. Wyoming, we can just take that off the books. Nobody's there. Nobody's in Wyoming. Rhode Island and Massachusetts are the same thing. Anyway. Yeah, so they announced the new Game of Thrones TV series. This is TV series number 3 that they're putting out now about the Dunk and Egg. So we have a Dunk and Egg series coming out, and I'm excited. But
when are they going to release the background story on the Dunk and Egg prequel, Dunkin' Donuts?
Dunk and Egg is already a prequel. The prequel to Dunk and Egg is House of the Dragon.
Wait, what's House of the Dragon?
That's the current HBO series.
Oh, Dragon Show.
Yeah. Hot D.
Oh, okay.
Hot D
I've heard you
is
talk
about
Dragon Show.
the Targaryen civil war that killed all the dragons. And then the Duncan Egg stories are about, like, take place during the Blackfyre rebellions, which is another Targaryen civil war. And then the main series takes place after a big war that killed all the Targaryens. So they're gone now. Except they're not. There's Targaryens all over the place. You're just beeping over there. What are you doing?
Plugging in and out my Wacom tablet for some reason. That's why I'm trying to like set it on something. Don't mind my beeps.
Yeah. So, in the 1990s, George R. R. Martin wrote a letter to his publisher to pitch A Song of Ice and Fire as a series. And he said he was going to get it done in 3 books, detailing the 3 main conflicts in Westeros, each one detailing a big war. So the first book was going to be A Game of Thrones about the War of the Five Kings. I hear the frantic typing and all the typos. The second book would be called A Dance with Dragons, and it would be about the conflict for the Iron Throne between 2 Targaryen pretenders. And then the third book was going to be...
Wait. No, we're needing to back up immediately.
Yeah.
The War of the Five Kings was not for the throne?
Yes and no. So it doesn't matter what his third book was going to be, because 6 chapters into the very first book, he realized there's no way he's getting through the War of the Five Kings in 1 book. Where it stands now in 2025, the first 3 books we got were the War of the Five Kings. Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, Storm of Swords. Those 3 books detail the War of the Five Kings. And then the 2 subsequent books we got are about the period of time between that war and what comes next. So we're like not even on to the second war yet. We're not on schedule. I did get confirmation that George Martin does watch this stream, and every time I say something like that, he just cries and cries and cries.
Don't make me pull up the Logan Lucky clip. It's my favorite clip from any movie ever.
I should have watched that in preparation for tonight. So, the War of the Five Kings was pretty important. It took up 3 books, 3 full books. And these are big goddamn books, right? We're talking like 60 plus chapters. I think Storm of Swords almost, like alone, just volume 3, almost breaks 1,000 pages, including appendices. So, the War of the Five Kings. Who are these 5 kings? Why are there 5 of them, and why are they in a war? It won't surprise you to learn that the War of the Five Kings, like all wars in all medieval fantasy, is a succession crisis, right? The throne is empty, and who do we put on the throne? In fact, that throne is empty, the one that you've beautifully drawn here. Right? So, you've never read these books. And you've never read any book, ever. And you may or may
That's not true. You know for a fact I've read 2 books.
You may or may not be aware of history. I don't know. If I asked you, how do you think succession in Westeros is usually determined? Right? Like, so the king is dead. Who's the new king? What would be your guess?
Okay. I know that this is a series of fantasy novels in which magic does in some form exist.
Sure.
And I also am like there are ancient traditions and histories and reasons.
Yes.
Now, historically, God told me I could be the king is half of the story.
Yeah.
The other half of the story being, and my big army of knights is backing me up on that.
You're a step ahead of me, and I like that.
I'm going to go off of it's always been done this way, that my family gets to sit in the big chair, and might makes right.
Yeah. Both correct. So the important thing to realize is that this is a feudalistic medieval society. There's not like a parliament whose job it is to enforce succession laws. The general convention is that when somebody important dies, their firstborn son takes over the position. These are hereditary positions. So it matters that you're firstborn, it matters that you're a son, and it matters that you're trueborn.
That's why the bastard thing's important.
Yeah. No, a bastard cannot inherit. So if you and your lady are married and you're in good standing with the church and the crown and all of society, and then you get run over by a bus, your firstborn son gets to take over. And
Question.
Yeah.
You have to be dead for your son to take over.
I mean, there's a million asterisks. But basically, yes. Basically,
More
yes.
or less.
That's the convention. The thing is, there's no, like, governing body whose job it is to enforce these rules. So, if you die and your firstborn son wants to take over your Canadian throne, but your secondborn son has a big, sexy army, it's like, So, in passing already, I've mentioned the two big Targaryen civil wars. The first Targaryen civil war was the Dance with Dragons. That happened because the king had a trueborn son many, many, many years after declaring to the realm that his trueborn daughter would succeed him. So there was a point in his life where he's like, I only have a daughter. I don't have any sons. She's like of marriageable age. She's going to take my throne when I'm dead. But then he went on to have a son with his second wife. But he never rescinded that original order. So half the realm was like, yo, the king wants his daughter to take the throne. And the other half of the realm was like, girls are stinky. And then there was a big war and all the dragons died. And it was very sad. And then the second big Targaryen civil war was the Blackfyre rebellions. So this king sucked ass, and he had 7 million bastards. And one of the bastards, on his deathbed, he's like, all my bastards are legalized. Like, they're all legal sons of mine now. That's something I can do because I'm king. So again, half the realm is like, oh, the trueborn son of the king will be the new king. And then the other half of the realm was like, but he legitimized this bastard, and we like him better, and we want him to be king. And then it was a big, stupid fight, and everybody got dead.
When you say Blackfyre rebellions, why is my brain wigging to there was a cool prison out in some, like, islandy area all the way off to the west?
A cool prison? There's the Iron Islands out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but you're thinking
someone burned a whole fucking island, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, so that was during Aegon's conquest. The original king of Westeros came in on his dragons, and he's like, "Hey, the map. I love this map." Yeah, so you had
This one
Harren Hoare in Harrenhal, and he's like, "You can't burn my castle because stone doesn't burn." And then Aegon Targaryen and his giant dragon burned his incredibly huge castle, and it destroyed his line. But yeah, he was the ruler of the Riverlands and the Iron Isles at the time.
But that's not the Blackfyre rebellion. That's something different.
That was the original conquest. That was at the very start of Westeros. Like, that was the unification of Westeros. That was the first Targaryen king. But he had a sword called Blackfyre, spelled with a Y, because of course.
So this is wrong.
Exactly. And that sword, Blackfire, got handed down from Targaryen king to Targaryen prince for many generations, until this really shitty king, like, instead of giving it to his trueborn son, gave it to his bastard son, and then legitimized the bastard. So the bastard took the name Blackfire for himself, and there was a big rebellion because there was like, who... Succession is messy. So who are these 5 kings? Well, Robert Baratheon is not one of the 5 kings. He's not one. He's dead.
Oh, not one. Damn it.
He dies in the first book before the war starts. But his death is what triggers the war, because who comes after him? There's all these weird pretenders all over the place, and this gets really messy, and there's a reason this took 3 books to get through. So I'll work.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Inciting incident. Robb is dead.
Yeah, King Robert
Now.
is dead. Now what? So, just to give you a reminder of the field and how messy this is about to get. So, Robert has 2 brothers, 2 younger brothers. The Baratheon boys, you might say. And he's got 3 children, 3 true-born children by his wife, Cersei Lannister. Here's the problem. In the eyes of the realm, the church, the crown, and everybody who matters, Robert has 3 children by his wife, the queen, the oldest of which is named Joffrey. I know we've spoken of Joffrey before in your notes. He's a real piece of shit. But, in truth, the big secret that nobody knows is that Joffrey and the king's other 2 children are actually bastards born of incest, because Cersei Lannister is fucking her brother, Jaime Lannister.
Right.
So Joffrey's biological father is Jaime Lannister, but Joffrey is acknowledged by the realm as Robert's first trueborn son. So he has the name Joffrey Baratheon. And so, when Robert dies, all the laws governing the realm state that Joffrey Baratheon should be on the Iron Throne. Now, the big caveat with Joffrey is he's kind of too young to rule. He's like 14 or so he doesn't ever really rule in his own right. His grandfather, Tywin Lannister, is actually the guy in charge, kind of like the puppet behind the scenes. Yeah, he'd be a figurehead king probably his entire reign if it had lasted long. But you've put Joffrey as number 1, and technically Joffrey could not be the first of the 5 kings, because Joffrey's technically not king until there's a coronation ceremony. Robert Baratheon is dead, we put him in the ground, Joffrey Baratheon has to be coronated at the Great Sept, and he's not king until that moment. So the number 1 on this list, and one of my favorite characters in the books.
I actually missed that name because of a Discord hiccup.
I haven't given the name yet.
Okay.
So I mentioned that Robert has 2 brothers. And Robert has no true-born children, because all 3 of his children are bastards. Well, what do you do if the king doesn't have children? In this case, you go to the king's brothers. He's got 2 younger brothers, the first of which, and this is officially the first king in the War of the 5 Kings, would be Stannis Baratheon.
Oh, I've heard you say Stannis the Manus before.
Oh, Stannis the Manus. Love this guy. So, what's great about Stannis is very early in the books, he figures out that, Robert's kids are bastards. And at the very, very beginning of the first book, Robert Baratheon and all his family, everybody travel all the way up to Winterfell to visit Robert's best friend, Eddard Stark. So he can make Eddard Stark the Hand of the King. Hand of the King is like the king's right-hand man, okay? Like this, he's the most powerful guy in the kingdom except for the king. Well, this irritates Stannis. Stannis always has felt slighted by his brother. Stannis thinks he deserves to be the Hand or whatever. Stannis runs off to a place called Dragonstone. But Stannis has, in his mind, proof that Robert's children are bastards. So while he's at Dragonstone, he sends a letter to every lord in Westeros, stating in very clear terms, the king is dead, all of his children are bastards of incest, I can prove it, therefore I am the king by rights. But he pays attention to Stannis.
What?
Nobody pays, because it would be such a... Okay, look, if you're like a major lord in Westeros, and you have this powerful family ruling the throne, and you get a letter saying that, like, the true king is a bastard of incest, and I can prove it, you're like, no, you're not going to go against the throne. Like, that's a wild accusation for a man with basically no army. Because Stannis doesn't have a lot of backing, because people just don't like Stannis that much. Yeah, it doesn't work out for him. So, okay. The second of the 5 kings would be Joffrey Baratheon, because he gets coronated pretty quickly. They have a big feast. There's a big to-do. And so we've got 2 kings now. And Stannis is going to gear up for war. And Stannis thinks that he's going to have an easy time gearing up for war, because he's Lord Paramount of his like section of the kingdom. The Baratheons have a lot of banners that can call, and he's got a younger brother he can call on. Robert had a second brother. But guess what that shithead does? The third king in the War of the 5 Kings is Renly Baratheon. Renly says, oh, my brother's right. Robert's kids are bastards by incest. But even though Stannis is the older brother and should inherit, that's dumb, and Stannis is dumb, and everybody loves me, and I have all these allies, and look at this beautiful army I've put together with a marriage alliance. Everybody backs Renly. I should say, everybody who should have backed Stannis backs Renly instead. And you just know Stannis doesn't like that. Like, my God. Yeah, the popular guy that people actually listen to. So that's kind of the state of things at the start of the second book, thereabouts. You've got Joffrey on the throne, on the Iron Throne. Stannis is claiming he's illegitimate, and then Renly's kicking around with everybody who really should be supporting Stannis. All the Baratheon banners went to Renly.
Now, when you say everybody who should be supporting Stannis, like, there is still a large contingency that clearly back Joffrey just because the Baratheons have all this power.
Yeah. So
why are those lines drawn in the first place? Like, I'm not quite sure I'm clear on that.
Because Robert sucks. So, okay. This is an unprecedented time. Robert takes the throne of Westeros in a place called King's Landing. That's where the king sits. But all of these families also have their own kingdoms and holdings. That's why it's called the Seven Kingdoms. The Baratheons' kingdom is called the Stormlands, and their seat of power is called Storm's End. Okay? But there was a weird hiccup, because before Robert Baratheon... Yeah, you got the Stormlands here. Before Robert Baratheon, the Targaryens sat the throne. And they also had a seat of power called Dragonstone, where all their dragon eggs lived. So Robert Baratheon takes the throne, And typically what would happen is the king would take the throne and then his heir, whoever that is, would remain at their seat of power. So for many, many, many years, the Targaryen king sat at the throne, and then Dragonstone was for the prince or the princess or whoever the heir was. Well, Robert smashes all the Targaryens. There's none left. So he takes Dragonstone for House Baratheon. So he has 2 castles and 2 brothers. And in Robert's mind, he thinks giving Stannis Dragonstone is a reward for Stannis' service during the war. In Robert's mind, because he's a conqueror and he's a fighter, he thinks giving you the spoils of war, this ancient Targaryen seat, is me honoring your part in my rebellion, and then Storm's End can go to Renly. Stannis didn't see it that way, because whoever sits in Storm's End is Lord Paramount of the Stormlands. So Stannis felt slighted. He felt like he was passed over, that his birthright was given to the younger brother, and of course all of the Storm Lords followed Renly, because he's Lord Paramount of the Stormlands. Stannis is Lord Paramount of nothing. So Stannis has grievances, but he's also got a point. He also did everything Robert ever asked of him. He was loyal. Stannis is a purely lawful, neutral character. Stannis will always do his duty no matter what. He's definitely one of my favorite characters. But this is the state of things. We got 3 kings, and we're gearing up for war. So Joffrey's got Lannister armies and all of the crown lands and all of their wealth. Stannis has Dragonstone and a couple of lords around him, and then Renly has the Stormlands. He also has the backing of a family called the Tyrells, who are big, big, big lords. They're one of the kingdoms, and it's called the Reach, which is kind of like the breadbasket of Westeros. Lots of gardens, lots of rich farmland. They're very wealthy. The Tyrells are throwing in with Renly. Okay. Joffrey Baratheon's a piece of shit. Yeah, you got the Reach down there.
Yeah.
Joffrey Baratheon's a piece of shit. Eddard Stark's been captured, and everybody who's everybody, the King's Hand and his mother Cersei and his betrothed Sansa Stark, they're all telling him the worst thing in the world you could do is execute Eddard Stark. Send him to the Wall to join the Night's Watch. He's done. We'll just send him there. It's as good as exile. What does Joffrey Baratheon do? He executes
I would
Eddard
assume,
Stark.
being a petulant 14-year-old kid who just got handed the "I can do whatever the fuck I want" gift from God, immediately goes against every authority figure making the right call and says, "I want to see some heads roll."
No, it's even worse than that.
Ah, shit.
Yeah. So there's this big farce where they tell... Cersei tells Sansa, who's Ed Stark, his daughter, his eldest daughter, who was betrothed to Joffrey and still is at this point in the story. She's distraught. And Cersei's like, look, it's going to be kind of a show. Go out on the stage before everybody, pray for your father, and beg the king for his forgiveness, and then Joffrey will send him to the Wall. And Joffrey will get to look like this merciful king, and your dad will get to live, and then everything will be fine. And Sansa's like, great, I'll do that. So Sansa goes out in front of this giant crowd. She walks out onto this headsman's gallows. She plays her part, she prays, she begs the king for forgiveness, and Joffrey says, no, bring me his head, while staring at her. And he thinks it's funny. Straight up a cold... Joffrey is a cold idiot. Just the worst idiot. Yeah, all of his counselors told him, like, this is the best thing you can do. Because Ned Stark is way less dangerous to you alive than dead. He's been stripped of his power. And as long as we have his daughters here in King's Landing, like, nobody is going to do anything else. Everybody will fall in line. Well, no, he kills Ned Stark. Yeah, very publicly, very pettily. And guess what? Ned Stark has lots of trueborn sons up in Winterfell. The eldest of which is Robb Stark. Robb Stark, when Joffrey sends him a letter saying, hey, Robb, you need to come down to King's Landing and swear fealty to me in person. And Robb Stark says, no, here's my finger, sit and spin. Instead, I'm going to raise a bunch of armies in the north and the Riverlands, and that's how I'm going to get to King's Landing. I'm going to show up with an army. So Robb Stark does a bunch of fighting, captures Jaime Lannister. I know we covered that. And his people name him King in the North. And now he is the 4th king in the War of the Five Kings. But you'll notice that Robb Stark is not in the fight for the Iron Throne. He doesn't want the Iron Throne. He wants independence for the North and the Riverlands. So while the War of Five Kings is a war involving 5 kings, they're not all fighting for the same thing. They're not all fighting for the Iron Throne. Yeah, he's fighting for the independence of his countries, and also because the Lannisters have his sisters captive, and he wants them back. There's a guy that we both know. And it's hard to say if you love him or not. But we both know this guy. He's a Well Actually guy. Do you like Well Actually guy?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think I know who you're talking about.
There's a Well Actually guy in the Game of Thrones books. Well, actually, there was never a War of Five Kings. Because by the time the 5th king declared, one of the other 4 was already dead. So there was only ever 4 kings, and everybody's calling the War of the Five Kings. This is a character in the books who says that. So one of these 4 kings has to die before we get to our 5th king.
Gee, I wonder who looks most marked for death.
Well, who would you say? What would be your guess?
Joffrey.
You think Joffrey? Okay.
Absolutely. No. He's the weakest of the kings, and by all rights has every reason to get offed early.
Okay.
No offense. You've not even mentioned a character at all like this, and yet I can already imagine the Grand Vizier in the background rubbing their hands like, can't wait to kill this fucker.
Oh yeah, no, that's Varys. We haven't talked about Varys at all. No, that character exists, and I can do a whole night just talking about that motherfucker. And maybe we will. Unfortunately, you're incorrect. Joffrey is not killed. So here's what happens. Thousands and thousands of years ago, there was an event called the Long Night, when the zombies came up and the sun set, and it was a winter without end, and the world was in desolation, and a hero appeared named Azor Ahai, who pulled a flaming sword and fought back the others in a battle called the Battle for Dawn, and he saved the world. And there's a prophecy that Azor Ahai would return.
Now, I'm going to stop you there because, boy, that sure does sound awesome. How much of that is history and how much of that is myth? And how much of that is up for debate?
We don't know. We have no idea. Well, there's a Red Witch. There's a religion, of this fire-worshipping religion. They worship a god called R'hllor.
Yes, we've covered them.
Okay, so R'hllor has a priestess named Melisandre. Melisandre is beautiful, and she is a sorceress, and in her flames, she saw Azor Ahai reborn. and decided to travel to Westeros so she could back Azor Ahai because she wants that king to gain strength and raise his armies and have won the Iron Throne by the time the War for Dawn begins. So, who do you suppose Melisandre's backing out of these four?
So, I mean, like, the cliched thing to do is Robb Stark, right? Because he was already up in the north fighting what I can only imagine are, and I'm going to try and reach into my memories and pull this out. Was it White Walkers?
Yeah,
was that the zombie horde?
The White Walkers are the zombie. In the books, they're just called the Others. In the show, they're called the White Walkers. But where Robb Stark lives in Winterfell, which we're calling the North, is actually way, way to the south of where the Others are. Robb Stark's never seen an Other. Nobody in the North has ever seen an Other. They might not even be real. That's a good guess.
So he's in Winnipeg, not necessarily in Nunavut.
Exactly. That's a really good comparison, actually. Like, big difference. No, Melisandre looks into her flames and she sees Stannis the Manus as Azor Ahai reborn. She travels to Dragonstone and gets into Stannis the Manus's court. Now, here's the thing about magic in these books. There is real magic, but people don't believe in real magic. It's like there's not, like Gandalf's not running around throwing off fireworks and stuff, right? Usually when magic happens in the book, it's not flashy. It's not like big and bombastic. There's not like spell work or anything. And oftentimes when magic is depicted on the page, it's not even obvious that it's magical because the characters just don't recognize it as such.
The most magical thing that you've told me about is that someone appears to look like another person.
Yeah, the faceless men they wear a face of another person and they can become that person. But when that's depicted in the book, when Arya Stark sees that, all she sees is the guy's face looks like one thing, then he turns away for a second. When he turns back, he looks different now. That's it. There's no like big flash and bang.
Write this down in whatever notes you're keeping. That would be a great topic to cover, is the magic happenings in Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. Because a lot of it isn't depicted on the page as magic. Melisandre is the exception. When she performs her big spell work in Book 2, our point of view chapter at the time is a man named Davos. And would you like to take a quick sojourn and just meet Davos Seaworth for a moment as another absolutely favorite character?
Let's go. Yeah. Davos. How you spell that?
Exactly as you're expect. That's it. That's right. Exactly right. So, during Robert's rebellion, Renly was too young to fight. He's a boy. And Stannis was... had he taken Dragonstone or Storm's... I think Stannis was in Storm's End at the time. He was holding Storm's End. So Stannis was also not fighting in the field. He was holding Storm's End, which was under siege by every southern army that fighting for the king. Doing his duty for his brother in the rebellion. His men are in there starving. They got nothing. They can't fight back. They're not going to get relief. Davos is a smuggler. He smuggles all up and down the Narrow Sea. And something in the wind tells him to help out however way he can with Robert's rebellion. So he gets past the blockades, and he manages to smuggle a whole hold filled with onions into Storm's End to bring Stannis and his men relief. Davos is a lowborn, nobody, orphan boy who managed to work his way up to being a smuggler. But yeah, he got through the blockade, brought the onions. First of all, Stannis knights him. So now he's Sir Davos. And people call him the Onion Knight. Yep, there you go. Hashtag definitely Davos. But listen to how this is one of the great things about Stannis. Because Stannis always appraises a man exactly how he is. He doesn't build him up. He doesn't tear him down. So he tells Davos, because you broke through the blockade, because you helped us survive this siege, because you saved so many lives, I'm going to grant you a knighthood and a place in my court. So Davos gets lifted way up. He's also made a lord, and he gives himself the name Seaworth. So now he's Lord Davos Seaworth. But Stannis says, you're a smuggler, which means you're a criminal, which means I have to punish you. So Stannis shortens 2 of his fingers to the knuckle. He gave him the punishment and the reward together. And Davos is like, you know what? Suits me fine. And Davos actually wears his lucky finger bones in a little bag around his neck for years afterwards. He owes everything to Stannis, who lifted him up from nothing. He's our point of view character for Melisandre. Stannis is like, all right, Renly's declared himself king. He's got all the armies that should be mine. I can't do anything against the Lannisters until we take care of Renly. Davos, all I need you to do is smuggle Melisandre into Storm's End by boat. What Davos doesn't know is that Stannis and Melisandre have had crazy magic sex. And when Davos sees Melisandre next, she is boisterously pregnant. Like, in the span of one day, she's bursting, like 9 months pregnant. And he takes her up into Storm's End and watches her give birth to a formless shadow that comes out of her body and enters Storm's End. And that's all he knows. At that point, Davos is supposed to bring her home, which he does. In a later chapter, Renly Baratheon is murdered under extremely suspicious circumstances. Got past his whole Kingsguard. Nobody has any idea who it was. The people who witnessed the event don't have any idea what they're even seeing. So yeah, that's why Davos doesn't like Melisandre, because later he gets the word like, oh yeah, Renly was murdered, and Davos is like, okay, I know what happened here. So Renly is dead, and almost all of his banners go over to Stannis, and that's how Stannis gets his army. So now the Manus is in the fight, with a red witch, and Davos is his hand. And then there's like this fifth king. We got to talk about this asshole. All right. So bring up your cool little map that I love.
Cool little map coming up, boy.
Yeah. So you look at the
and Bubs is still there.
look at the north there, and so all up and down the western coast of the north, and really all of the western coast of Westeros, are all of these villages that tend to get raided by these people called the Ironborn in the Iron Isles. They're this kind of like Viking piratey culture. I see you've already got the Jolly Roger written there, which makes sense to me. The Iron Isles have this culture of raiding and pillaging. They have a saying amongst their people that if you take something, you have to pay the iron price. If you pay gold for something, you've acquired it dishonorably. Paying the iron price means you kill whoever owns it and take it from them. That's kind of how they live. The problem is they suck and they don't have good leadership. So, after Robert's Rebellion and he became king, this guy in the Iron Isles named Balon Greyjoy decides now would be a great time to declare myself king of the Iron Isles and land in the north. Well, the whole realm is bleeding from this rebellion. I'm going to make landfall. And Robert Baratheon and basically all the heroes of the rebellion ride up to the Iron Islands, push Balon Greyjoy's shit all the way in. You understand? All the way in. The guy's absolutely humiliated. He's just smashed. And then Eddard Stark takes his only son as his ward. So now Balon Greyjoy doesn't even have an heir. So you would think the man has learned his lesson.
God, no.
No.
You kidding me? You left... if I know one thing about history, don't leave a fucking remnant.
Yeah. Well... So this War of the Five Kings is kicking off. Or it's not called that yet, because... Well, this war is kicking off between Lannisters and Starks, primarily. The Riverlands are all ablaze, and so Balon Greyjoy is like, there's a boy king on the throne, everybody's fighting. Now would be a great time for Balon Greyjoy to declare himself king of the Iron Isles. So he does. But he doesn't really join the fight. He just wants to raid places along the north. Because that's all they can really do, is do a little bit of raiding on the side. And really nobody pays any attention to what Balon Greyjoy is doing. He's just not... He's not a good leader, and his people aren't that powerful, and they don't have good goals. I'm never going to be able to see that again and not see Davos.
Wait. How often do you look at Onion Bubs?
I mean, more often than most people, I would imagine. Me and Onion Bubs are on good terms. All right, so... Well, actually...
See, the real problem is if you ever reread this, you're not going to be able to hear Davos as anyone other than Bubs.
Davos has one of the best actors on the show. The guy who portrayed... I don't know the actor's name, but, like, of all of the amazing performances on that show, Davos Seaworth might be one of the best. He's an amazing character.
All right, I like honoring the actors here. That is... Oh, Liam Cunningham! Duh! Okay, of course, yeah. Of course you like him.
I don't know who that is, except that he played Davos, so... Yeah, amazing performance. So, there was never a War of Five Kings, because Renly Baratheon is dead before Balon Greyjoy declares himself king. But again, Balon Greyjoy is not declaring himself king of Westeros. He's not going for the Iron Throne. He declares himself king of the Iron Islands. So we've got 4 kings on the field. Joffrey and Stannis are fighting over the Iron Throne. Robb is fighting for independence of the North and the Riverlands. And Balon Greyjoy is fighting for... maybe we can get some slaves and ships for Balon Greyjoy. I guess we got to kill these assholes now, don't we?
I guess you've laid out that there are a War of Five Kings and then a War of Two Kings after that, which seems like a de-escalation.
We haven't gotten to that, and those are 2 completely different kings, and one of them's a queen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Does anyone walk away from the War of Five Kings?
Yes. Oh, and it's a great story.
Okay.
I mean, the deaths are all great stories, too. Like, Renly's death, that's a great story. Like, he gets killed by a shadow man that crawled out of a red witch's vagina. Like, it's an amazing story. Also...
I think I've heard that story before. The problem was that the person guessed incorrectly and the shadow man wasn't a shadow man, it was a drunk.
Not for nothing, but Renly's gay. I don't know if we care or not. But yeah, he's totally gay.
Like turbo gay?
In the books, this is kind of like a hush-hush thing. We kind of only hear about it in passing. In the show, they make it very explicit because they're able to give us like a scene between Renly and his lover. The problem is in the books, Renly's not a point of view character, and neither is his lover. So there's just never a time where we could see them. But I mentioned the Tyrells.
No.
Yeah,
I need to pause here for a second.
sure.
Because that does pose a problem for like succession reasons.
Yes.
But again, this is a medieval society. I don't really know what the religious stance is on this. Is there much of a taboo about the queerness here?
Oh yes, buggery is a big no-no when you're coming to the
right.
religion of the Seven Kingdoms. Yeah, no, it's definitely not good. But don't worry, Renly has a solution.
Oh no, we did cover some religion. Oh, we did get there.
Yeah,
because you said 7 tenets of something or another. I was like, I remember this.
Yeah, the seven is the faith of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah,
but Renly has a solution. So Renly is gay for a man named Loras Tyrell. Loras is this bespeckled knight. He's really strong. He's a great fighter. He's beautiful. He wins a bunch of tournaments. He and Renly super into each other. And that's kind of why Renly wants the Tyrells backing him in this war, so he can stay close to Loras. He wants to name Loras to his Kingsguard, have him close all the time. Would be great. Fortunately for everybody, Loras has a sister named Margaery. And this is never explicitly spelled out in the books, but it is made explicit in the show. The plan is like, okay, we're going to marry Margaery Tyrell to Renly, right? So they can have heirs. Like, Margaery totally knows that he's gay for her brother, and she's totally cool with that. Like, they only have to have sex a couple times. And anyway, we can just invite Loras in and, like, all have sex together. And as long as you finish inside of me and I can get pregnant, then everything is great. And we'll have true-born sons. And so that's the plan. Renly and the Tyrells solidify this alliance. They're not going to have any problems producing heirs. Nobody's ever going to find out Renly's gay. They definitely don't have to worry about a Red Witch killing him with a Shadow Man.
Like, slightly weird polycule, but I've seen weirder, so eh.
Yeah. Like Loras is into it, Margaery's into it, Renly's into it. You have to infer a lot of that in the books. I think there's a couple of characters who mention Renly and Loras being very close. We'll get back to Margaery later. Because Renly and Margaery I don't even think they get married, but they don't have a chance to consummate their relationship before Renly is murdered. So that sucks for him, and most of his banners go off to Stannis. So Renly is now dead. The Tyrells then go over to the Lannisters. They don't go over to Stannis. Why? Well, because they have a boy king on the throne, Joffrey, and Joffrey's betrothed to this girl, Sansa Stark, but Sansa Stark's father was just executed as a traitor. Like, we can't marry him anymore, obviously. And also, her older brother is rebelling up in the north and in the Riverlands. Like, obviously, Sansa Stark now persona non grata. So who's Joffrey Baratheon gonna marry? Well, Margaery Tyrell. Why not? Tyrells have this big army. They want to get close to the Iron Throne. Renly was supposed to get us there, but Renly's dead, and nobody likes Stannis, so let's just marry the new boy king. Super easy peasy. Yeah, so Joffrey gets to marry Margaery Tyrell, and he invites Sansa Stark to the wedding. Isn't that fucked up?
After he killed her dad.
Yeah. She has to sit there because she was going to marry this guy. But then he murdered her father, declares her brother like a traitor and a rebel in the north. Yeah. So Sansa Stark is at the wedding. And it's this big feast, and she's not feeling it because she's not in a good headspace right now, okay? She's deeply traumatized. Terrible things have happened. Her whole family is, like, nothing's going well for her. And then Joffrey Baratheon, at the middle of his wedding feast, for seemingly no reason, stops breathing, turns purple, and drops the fuck dead. Just
after the wedding or before the wedding?
during the wedding feast. Yeah, just stops breathing. Like, is he choking on food? What? So I'm going to tell you the true story about how Joffrey Baratheon died. There's a woman we haven't discussed yet. A woman named Olenna Tyrell, who's Marjorie's grandmother. I don't know if you're ever going to get around to watching Game of Thrones clips from the HBO series on YouTube. If you do, I highly recommend watching all of the Olenna Tyrell clips. She is this no-nonsense old grandmother who just won't take one iota of shit from anybody. Grandma Supreme, right. So she's Marjorie's grandma. So Olenna and Marjorie at some point had a conversation like, all right, Renly's dead. That's cool. We're going to marry you to Joffrey. Now, Joffrey is the biggest shithead on the planet, and everybody knows this. So why would Olenna Tyrell and the rest of her family agree to marry their girl Marjorie to this kid Joffrey?
So, just to pause you there.
Yeah.
By the sounds of it, Joffrey is the biggest shithead on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone knows it except Joffrey.
Joffrey he's the king.
But he keeps painting these giant fuck-ass targets on his back.
Doesn't he, though? What a dick, right?
Yeah.
No, Joffrey's an idiot, and he never makes a good decision, ever. But he's got the backing of the biggest army in Westeros, and his grandfather, Tywin Lannister, is running things. He's basically untouchable in times of war. Olenna Tyrell does not want her granddaughter marrying this boy, obviously. She wants the power of the Iron Throne. She wants her family married to the king. That much is true. So what Olenna Tyrell does is she and her handmaidens dress up Sansa Stark's hair before the wedding with this nice, some kind of hair decoration, something to hold her hair in place. So she looks very pretty for the day. And on the day of the feast, Olenna Tyrell comes up and she exchanges some pleasantries with Sansa, and she arranges her hairnet a little bit. And then 10 minutes later, Joffrey drops dead. Because Olenna Tyrell snuck poison into the feast by hiding it in Sansa Stark's hair and then retrieving it at the feast to poison Joffrey Baratheon at the feast, just so Marjorie would not have to marry this guy. And then instead, Marjorie gets to marry Joffrey's 8-year-old brother, Tommen. I think technically all kings are dickheads. You don't get the job of being king unless you're a dickhead. It's kind of a prerequisite. Joffrey is definitely the biggest of the dickheads. We're going to come back to Tommen in a little bit. Tommen's not one of the 5 kings, by the way. So that's how Joffrey died. That's pretty cool, right?
Rip to a real one.
A little while before all that happens, before his wedding goes down, Stannis Baratheon attacks King's Landing by sea. He hires a bunch of sell sails to come in, take King's Landing by sea. There's a huge battle called the Battle of the Blackwater, which is the name of the bay around King's Landing. And it's a close run thing. There's moments where it really looks like Stannis could break through, get to King's Landing, make it to the Red Keep, and take control of Cersei and Joffrey. But he loses the fight. Most of his ships get completely burned and torched. Stannis very barely limps out himself. Most of his forces are trashed. And Davos is lost at sea at the end of Book 2. Fortunately, he's not dead, and he comes back in Book 3. He has survived miraculously. So Stannis spends a lot of Book 3 brooding on Dragonstone. Like, how am I going to get another army? What am I going to do now? How am I going to get the throne? Davos, during all of this, we love Davos. He's precious. He's learning how to read. Stannis has a young daughter, and she and Davos are hanging out because they're both learning how to read together. Davos is an orphan from Flea Bottom, never learned how to read, never had an education, but he's like, if I'm going to be serving King Stannis as Hand of the King, like, I have to learn how to read.
God, I love how evocative the name Flea Bottom is.
Yeah, that's like the slum of King's Landing.
So brief aside of the thing that I'm replaying right now of Hollow Knight, I also love the naming conventions in that, and Dirtsmouth springs to mind.
Yeah, Davos is from Flea Bottom, and Dunk from the Dunk and Egg stories. He's also from Flea Bottom, we will find out. So Davos is learning how to read, and in order to practice reading, he goes through a bunch of just old letters sent to the Maester of Dragonstone, just so he can, like, practice reading. And he pulls out this old letter sent from the Wall, saying, hey, the others are coming. We need all the help we can get. This letter was sent out from the Wall like last year to everybody in Westeros, and absolutely everybody ignored it. But the letter ended up in this like pile of discarded letters that Davos is going through, and he takes it and he's like, I'll bet Stannis has never seen this letter. And he goes to Stannis and he says, my lord, the Wall is requesting your aid. They're saying they need help fighting the others. What does Stannis do? Why is Donut Man here? What is this?
Is that Dunk?
Oh my god, no. That's... Oh, gee. Is he wearing a cape? What is that?
I've got stuff to show you later.
Oh, Jesus. No. What does Stannis do? Stannis packs up his ships and armies and he goes north to the Wall. Stannis reasons, my problem up to this time is I've been trying to win the throne so I can save the realm. Instead, I should have been trying to save the realm to win the throne. His thinking now is, there's a major threat up north. I should go defend the realm that I'm king of by rights. And after I do that, I will have won the hearts and minds of enough people that I can then claim the throne in any capacity I want. And that's why he's Stannis the Manus. Because of these 5 asshole kings, he's the only one that listens to reason and makes a good decision at any point. So
how does that work out? Trying to change hearts and minds.
We'll get back to Stannis. We'll circle back. Renly's dead.
No. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right.
Yeah, Renly's dead. Joffrey's dead. Oh, Robb Stark.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot about him. You may have heard the phrase "the Red Wedding" floating around the cultural apparatus. The Red Wedding...
Which is not to be confused with the wedding in which Joffrey gets punked.
That's the Purple Wedding. Because the Red Wedding happens first, and then Joffrey's wedding happens later, and people the fandom kind of dubbed it the Purple Wedding because he turned purple because he couldn't breathe. There are a few laws you can never break, okay? Not many, but the laws of gods are in Westeros, there's not a lot of things you can't do, but the things you can't do, you really, really, really cannot do. Two of these are like the big ones. The one of them is kinslaying. Don't kill somebody that you're related to. Don't kill somebody in your own family. Is supposed to be important, right? So kinslaying is like super, super bad. The other thing is called guest right. If I invite you into my house and you come into my house, I'm not allowed to kill you or harm you in any way. I'm offering you the protection of my house while you're under my roof. Otherwise, I'm violating guest right. Guest right, super, super big. All right, so Renly had to get married. Joffrey had to get married. Who's Robb Stark going to marry? Well, look at your map here. You've got the north, and then you've got the Riverlands under that. Like that line between the north and the rest of it. That's all well and good. But just imagine if you want to go from the south to the north, there's only one place you can do it. There's only one... there's a bridge across a big river, and the bridge has a castle on either side of it. And the castle is called the Twins, because there's two of them. And the Twins are ruled by House Frey.
No. There is a castle. Mm-hmm. There's two of them. Yes. They split the castle in half?
Yeah, pretty much. So you can imagine a castle on either side of the river with a big bridge in between them. And that's the Twins.
I get what you're saying. That's two independent castles.
It's not treated like an independent castle. It's ruled by one man and one family. And that one man is Walder Frey. So you can't get from the north to the south or the south to the north with an army unless you cross the bridge at the Twins. So very early in Robb Stark's war, he makes a plan with Walder Frey to marry one of Walder Frey's daughters. Walder Frey loves this idea because then his daughter will be married to a king in the north, and he'll be super big, important man. Walder Frey wants to be super big, important man. Also, he's like 97 years old, and he's a lecherous old cunt, and everybody hates him. But yeah, that's the plan, is Robb Stark's going to marry this Frey daughter. And in exchange, Walder says you can cross the bridge as many times as you need to. If you need to go north to south or south to north to move troops, I will not stand in your way. My gates will be open. So Robb goes off to war. And he goes off and he takes a bunch of captives in the Riverlands and the Westerlands, and that's all wonderful. And his mom, Catelyn Stark, goes off to the south to treat with the other kings, because Robb is like, hey, Joffrey sucks ass, but there's two other Baratheon kings down there. Let's find out where we stand with them. So Catelyn goes all the way to the south. She meets Renly Baratheon and hangs out with them for a while, and then she's inside of this tent with Renly, and then Renly gets fucking murdered by a Shadow Man right in front of Catelyn Stark, and she has no idea what she's looking at. And it's terrifying. Anyway, she goes back up to reconvene with Robb. And Robb is like, hi, Mom, I'm back from war, and we're going to do more war later. Oh, and also, this is Jane Westerling. I totally married her when I shouldn't have, and we've been having all kinds of sex. So Robb Stark is now married to Jane Westerling. That's freaky. Why is that there?
You said Shadow Man, and I remembered Shadow Man exists.
Okay, that's fine. So Robb has married Jane Westerling, which is good for Robb. Like, he found love in this incredibly minor house that is of no consequence to anybody and has no value as a political alliance. Oh, and also, it completely pisses off the Freys. Oh, and also, the Ironborn at this point in the story have taken Winterfell by force. So Robb desperately needs to send troops north. But he can't, because he can't get through the Twins because he married this girl Jane instead of this Frey girl. Oh, it's a big mess. It's a good thing Robb's mom is here to clean up after him, don't you think? Okay. Fortunately, Catelyn has a little brother named Edmure Tully. Edmure is the third child of the Lord Paramount of the Riverlands, who is very, very old and about to die. So Edmure Tully...
We talked about Edmure Tully.
Yeah.
The Lord of Riverrun.
Yes. But his son Edmure is... Oh, yeah, we talked about him when Jaime has an adventure with Edmure Tully at one point.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so Edmure Tully's about to be Lord Paramount of the Riverlands. So Catelyn Stark goes back to the twins, and she's like, look, all right, Robb fucked up. We know this. I've already yelled at him. He feels very bad. Fortunately, my brother Edmure needs a wife, and we'll just marry him to the girl you were going to save for Robb. So you're not getting a marriage alliance with the king in the north, but you're getting a marriage alliance with the Lord Paramount of the Riverlands, which is like the second best possible thing. And then we'll make all of these other concessions. Like she tells Walder Frey, you can have anything you want, basically.
You can have anything you want. I'll trade you all my sheep and all my brick. You don't even need to give me any stones.
Exactly. She's like, I'll give you my shiny Pokemon. She's like, they need to get... Winterfell's been taken by the Ironborn in an event that we just don't have time to get into tonight. But, like, Robb needs to get back north. So Walder Frey's like, fine. We'll do it. And they have this big wedding feast of the twins. And this event becomes known as the Red Wedding. Why?
The Red Wedding happens. Now,
yeah,
culturally, red means go full speed, don't even worry about it. Right?
Culturally,
definitely
red
doesn't mean stop, danger, and blood.
Yeah, it's like the red watery stuff in your body that's like hot and also makes you alive.
The human juice.
The human juice. So
the human juice would make human go.
A noble wedding in Westeros is a big deal. And there's a couple phases to it. Like, first, there's the religious ceremony. So Edmure Tully and his Frey bride, whose name I can't even... There's so many Freys, I can't keep them all straight. I don't remember which one she is. But they have this beautiful ceremony. And she's, like, all starry-eyed. Like, she's like, oh, I get to marry this High Lord. That's so cool. And then there's a big feast, right? And the feast, footing the bill for the feast, is the king in the north. Because Walder Frey's not going to pay for this feast. Why should he?
No shit.
Yeah. So there's this big feast. And at a point in the night, what happens is, like, there's the bedding ceremony. Like, the newlyweds have to go up to bed to consummate the relationship. And so, like, all of their friends and well-wishers, like, kind of carry them up in this kind of, like, raunchy, debaucherous, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and, like, pulling their clothes off on the way, and, like, pushing them into the bedroom at the end. So this bedding ceremony, just a good bit of fun. And then everybody goes back out to keep drinking and celebrating while the newlyweds get to do whatever they do, right? The bedding happens. So the hall pretty much mostly empties out because everybody's taking Edmure and his new bride off to the bedroom. And Walder Frey and a man named Roose Bolton, who, again, we just don't have time to get into tonight, but he is one of Robb Stark's most powerful bannermen, one of the powerful North Lord, have been in cahoots to murder the King in the North. They slit his throat at this wedding. This is a man who is now tied to the Freys by marriage through this marriage to Edmure Tully. And this is a man who was given guest right by Walder Frey. And he's like, I don't care. Murder them. And they murder Catelyn Stark. They slit her throat.
Okay. So Edmund Tully
Mm-hmm.
gets throat slit by Walder Frey.
No, Edmure's
directly or indirectly.
Edmure's in the bedroom banging his new wife. He has no idea what's going down.
Right. Okay. Edmure. Right. Edmure's getting married. This is Robb who gets his throne.
Yeah. Robb and Catelyn get that. That's how the King of the North. This man never lost a battle on the field. His war was going great, but that's how Robb Stark gets taken out. Now,
Right.
all of the Stark children have direwolf. It's
Yes.
the first thing that happens in the story is they all get direwolf pups, and most of them don't. Most they grow up into dogs. Well, Robb Stark's direwolf is named Greywind, and Greywind fought alongside him in all the battles and everything. The phrase "murder Robb Stark," they murder Greywind, they chop off Robb Stark's head, and they sew Greywind's head to his body, just for laughs. And then they just dump Catelyn Stark into a river, just unceremoniously. No respect at all. She's not all the way dead, though, because the Red God R'hllor is extremely fucked. And we can't get into it right now, but R'hllor is probably bad news, and he does some shit to Catelyn Stark.
Blood magic, yada yada. It's fine.
Yeah. So, okay, just to recap, Renly is dead now. Joffrey is dead now. Robb is dead now. Should we just throw Balon Greyjoy off a bridge? Off screen?
Does he get thrown off a bridge?
Yeah, he just gets thrown off a bridge, just off screen. Yeah, and that's it. We don't need to go into Balon Greyjoy anymore. But you were asking about Stannis.
Yeah, so far Stannis is alive.
Yeah. So Stannis sails north.
Like he got fucked up.
Yeah.
He has not yet really been successful at much of anything.
Nope. Stannis sails north, and he beats a wildling army at the north, and he meets Jon Snow. I don't know if we discussed Jon Snow much. He's only the main character of the books. But yeah, Stannis' idea is, I'm going to defend the north. And from this threat, we're going to consolidate power up here. One of the problems that's happening in the north when Stannis gets there is Winterfell's taken by the Ironborn, and then they're not able to hold the castle because they're Ironborn and they don't have the troops. So Roose Bolton, who just did the Red Wedding, the Lannisters are like, hey man, thanks for the Red Wedding. Why don't you go be Lord of Winterfell now forever? So Roose Bolton is now the man in the north. So he's got Winterfell, and Stannis is like, I can't do anything until we take Winterfell. Stannis is still alive as at the end of book 5, and book 6 is supposed to open. Book 6 is the book that we're never getting. It's the one that 15 years overdue at this point. It's supposed.
Is it? And I'm just pulling a name out of thin air. Is it Winds of Winter?
The Winds of Winter.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah. So yeah, the book is supposed to open with Stannis fighting Roose Bolton for Winterfell. Stannis is still in. He's the last man standing of the War of the Five Kings. But I mean, there are other kings in the world. Like, obviously, like King Tommen, we mentioned very briefly, Joffrey's little brother, who became king. He marries Marjorie Tywell. Over in Essos, we have Queen Daenerys, who has dragons. That's pretty scary. As of the end of the 5th book, there's also Aegon Targaryen VI, who is a Targaryen pretender who has taken Storm's End by this point. Like, it's still pretty messy.
Aegon Targaryen. Is that anything to do with Dragon Show?
Well, there's been 6 Aegon Targaryens. So the first King Targaryen was Aegon, which explains why there's so many more Aegons. Duncan Egg, the Duncan Egg stories we're going to be getting. Egg is Prince Aegon, who becomes King Aegon V. So
I just have a button that does that now, for what it's worth.
Great. Fantastic.
I could, every time you say Duncan Egg, I'm just going to put the dunk on here.
Yeah, we can't really get into Aegon Targaryen the Sixth right now, but he's declaring himself king, and that's probably who's going to have the Iron Throne for most of Book 6 if we ever get it. But all through Book 4 and 5, the official, nobody really disputes it, king of Westeros is Tommen Baratheon. There are two little details.
And that's who took over for Joffrey.
Yeah, he's Joffrey's little brother. Also illegitimate. Remember, he's actually the bastard son of incest for Jaime and Cersei. And one of the things Jaime... Because Jaime's going through a period of transition. He's going through a period, like, I want to be a better man. One of the things he tells himself is, like, part of the reason Joffrey turned out to be such a shit is, like, he didn't have good guidance. But I can be there for Tommen. Like, I could take an interest in Tommen's life and make sure that he turns out better. So Jaime's kind of telling himself, like, oh, like, Robert's not even here anymore. Like, I can't officially be a father for the boy, but, like, I can help him where I didn't help Joffrey.
There's still time with this one.
Tommen, so Joffrey was always a little shit. Tommen is known as a very sweet boy. People like Tommen. He has a nice disposition. He's not a little... He was bullied a lot because his big brother was Joffrey. But yeah, Tommen, very docile, very easy to control. Like, if you had told Tommen, hey, do not execute Ned Stark, Tommen would have been like, I'm not going to why would I ever execute Ned Stark? I'm going to send him into the wall. Tommen is easy to control. There's two details about Tommen Baratheon that I love. The first is that he gets married to Margaery Tyrell. At this point in the story, the joke about Margaery is that she's thrice wedded but never bedded, because she didn't have a chance to consummate her first two marriages, and her third marriage is to an 8-year-old boy. But they do let Tommen and Margaery share a bed together after they're married. They don't want I think he's 9 or 10 by this point. Too young for the sexy times in any event. But they allow them to share a bed because, like, just as companions. And apparently Tommen really, really, really likes Margaery. Like, a lot. Which is sweet. Also...
It's sweet and also fucking gross. It's fine.
I mean, by the time he's like 13, 14, it won't be so gross. And also, he's going to be dead long before then, don't worry. He's not surviving Book 6 either. There's one more piece of information. This is what I'm going to leave us on tonight. That I swear I'm not making up. And if you don't remember anything else in your notes, you're going to remember this. Tommen, King Tommen Baratheon I, has a cat named Sir Pounce.
Yeah, I've drawn Sir Pounce.
Yeah.
I have a drawing of Sir Pounce. Where's our cat companion? There, see?
Sir Pounce.
Oh no, that's a direwolf. Shit. There.
Sir Pounce, that's him. That is Tommen's cat. All right, and now you know everything there is to know about the War of the Five Kings. The war is technically over. There's only one king left, but the only king left is Stannis, and people don't really care about him much. Oh, well, any questions?
Again, keeping your notes, I want a recap of the most magic or the least magic shit to the most magic shit that happens in Game of Thrones.
Well, so by in Game of Thrones, do you mean in the course of the books specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
because that's an easy question to answer.
Dealer's choice.
The most magic thing that happens by far is at the end of the first book is the hatching of Daenerys Targaryen's dragons. Dragons have been extinct for well over a century. Dragon eggs are impossible to hatch. They've all just turned to stone. And at the end of the first book, she hatches 3 dragons. And from that moment on, everybody who's paying attention to magic all across Westeros and Essos notice that their magic gets stronger. So the dragons returning to the world brings a period of magic back. And the hatching of these eggs happens in an event where she like walks into a funeral pyre but is miraculously unburnt. The fire does not harm her.
I'm getting some strong fucking Phoenix vibes off of this shit.
Yeah. So it's the very, very last scene in the first book. And I think it's also the very, very last scene of the first season of this show. I would have to imagine. But Daenerys Targaryen, her husband Khal Drogo is dead, and they've built this big funeral pyre, and everybody's telling her like, you're gonna have to live here in the Dothraki city forever because your Khal is dead. And she's telling them like, I'll accept you into my service so you can fight alongside me. And they're telling her, we're not going to fight alongside you. You're a woman. You're not anybody important. And they watch her walk into this fire. They can't stop her from doing it. And then she walks out with dragons. And they're all like, oh, okay. Yes, we will follow you literally anywhere and do anything. So that's the most magic.
But we didn't know you was for real.
The Red God. So the religions in the world, it's interesting because all of the religions kind of have their own forms of magic, except for the faith of the Seven. The priests of the Seven and like the whole like the septs, the Holy Church, the main faith of Westeros is the only major religion that has never demonstrated any form of magic. It's like just a sham, top to bottom, probably.
I swear we've talked about the religion throughout here.
There was the religion of the Andals. I think we covered the Andals at one point. The least magic thing that... So there's a lot of examples in the book of things that happen that like we, the reader, would know are not magic, but which are seen as magical in the stories. For example...
Well, no. Like I said, what we could cover is from least to most. Like all the magic shit.
Yeah. Well, but this is magic, but it's not magic. The god of the Ironborn is the drowned god. And the Ironborn have a saying that which is drowned may never die, but comes back harder and stronger. And Balon Greyjoy's, one of his brothers, is Aeron Greyjoy. And Aeron Greyjoy is called Damp Hair because he never dries his hair. He's got this like scraggly wet hair with seaweed in it because he's a priest of the drowned god. And we see one of the drowned god rituals where Aeron Greyjoy is taking men out and taking them out into the water and holding them down until the bubbles stop and then dragging them back on land and giving them the kiss of the drowned god to bring them back to life. They've now been
pulling a Booker DeWitt.
Yeah, so they're just getting CPR. They're just being resuscitated. But the Ironborn see this as a deeply magical ritual, and that's how it's presented in the book. He's definitely fucked, though. Damp Hair is definitely fucked as of book 6. Like doesn't end well for him. We're gonna do. Other than Jaime Lannister, who we've covered, and possibly Arya, who we've covered, I think the most interesting single character story is Theon Greyjoy. He's got an amazing story. Kind of, the whole fandom is kind of the opinion that Theon has the best story in Book 5. Like, he's the one everybody... It's, like, perfectly written, absolutely great character arc, really satisfying ending. Love Theon Greyjoy. Also, he's an absolute asshole, and he's the one who took Winterfell and killed a bunch of people for the Ironborn.
Well, sometimes you gotta, you know?
Sometimes you gotta. But you can't cover everything in one night. But now you know everything about the War of the Five Kings.
That was a decent amount to cover. I had a good time.
Don't know if Marjorie Tyrell's ever going to actually get hers. It's gotta be tough being married to a 10-year-old. But
what life expectancy here is not going to be great, but like maybe.
Like if the worst thing that happens to her is she had to marry 3 different kings, like I
It's
think
an interesting life. I would prefer not to have that Wikipedia entry, but you know.
It's a hard question to consider. Like, what are the most magical events? Because on the page, other than the things with the Shadow Man that we covered, like, we only ever get one chapter from.
I don't have a Shadow Man button anymore.
We only ever get one chapter from Melisandre's point of view, where we confirm that like she is a sorceress and she can do magic and stuff. But even like in her own head, she doesn't think of her magic in great detail. Mostly she's just like reading prophecies in the fire. So
well, to those who are magic, it's simply natural.
It's a very interesting question. There's a practice in Oldstone, which is like the big hip college town, right? That's where all the scientists get trained up. And when you graduate science school, one of the things they do is you spend a whole night in a room with no windows and no lights, with a glass candle. And they tell you while you're in there, if you want light, light the glass candle. And the lesson is glass candles are magic items and they don't work. You can't light a glass candle. It's nonsense. And that's the lesson, is that magic isn't real and doesn't work. So every scientist, the scientists in Westeros are called the Maesters. Every Maester in Westeros has had this lesson undertaken until the dragons are born. And now the glass candles are burning in Old Town.
I don't really have much more questions in that regard. Again, magic is magic. It's hard. It's hard to argue against it.
Right. There's nothing more magical than Sir Pounce.
No, definitely not. Look, I drew him a little bit grumpier. I don't know why I thought I would have like this pretty decent kid would have a grumpy cat.
Well, he's got lots of cats. But Sir Pounce is his favorite.
I also got Sir spelled correctly with the E.
Yeah. Really well done. I think with that...
I hate the spelling in this fucking book.
Also, Stannis has two N's.
God damn it.
All right, sir. You are dismissed.
Thanks for hanging out. I always enjoy these.